When Lee Harvey Oswald and his mother were living in New York City in 1953, Lee Oswald got in trouble because he skipped almost every day of school in the spring semester, and he was picked up by a truant officer, and eventually he was given a psychological examination, and he was found to be a troubled youth. And he was a loner, didn't relate well to other people, that sort of thing. Now, in the fall of 53, he went back to school, and he attended very well, but his behavior was still not satisfactory. And anyway, he was still in the clutches of the law of the court. Even though he was in school, he had been remanded to the youth house for a while, for a few weeks. But at this time, he was going to school, and there was an attorney who intervened on his behalf by writing a letter. And here the FBI report recounts this letter. On 12/14/53, a letter signed by Edgar A. Buttle and written on stationery with letterhead of Finch and Schaefler, Bar, Building 36 West 44th Street, New York, was forwarded to Melvin Roman, Domestic Relations Court, New York. This letter read as follows. Dear Mr. Roman, Mrs. Oswald informed me that she had just received a note to the effect that she was to appear with her son before you on December 9th, 1953, in connection with possible treatment of her son. I indicated to her that I would get in touch with you for the purpose of arranging another appointment. Unfortunately, I became tied up with other matters and did not contact you. However, I want you to know that failure to contact you was not the fault of Mrs. Oswald. It is my thought that some serious consideration should be given to having the boy receive private clinical treatment if it is really necessary. It has been my impression that the boy has the feeling he is being kept under surveillance so extensively that he is beginning to feel abnormal. While I am highly in favor of psychiatric treatment and its accomplishments, I feel in this case there is a possibility that it is being overdone. In any event, I shall be very glad to discuss the matter with you so that I may know more about the facts. Thanking you for giving this matter your kind attention, I remain sincerely yours, Edgar A. Buttle. And the FBI on December 23, 1963, inquired at Finch and Schaefler attorneys, and they were told there that Edgar A. Buttle left the above firm approximately 8 years ago, and his last known address was 3636 16th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Of course, that's after the assassination. 10 years before, he had been associated with Finch and Schaefler. So, who is this Edgar Allyn Buttle? Well, if we skip ahead 8 years to 1961, we find that he is he's working for the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and he's something called the hearing examiner. And where this comes from, he's talking to the U.S. Senate Committee, the Judiciary Committee. And in the transcript here is provided his biography. Lawyer, born in New York City, May 7, 1903, A.B., Columbia University, 1928, J.D., New York University, 1931, J.S.D., 1935, graduate study, Princeton University, admitted to the New York Bar in 1933, and to the District of Columbia Bar in 1948. Special Assistant Attorney General, State of New York, 1933, associated with the law firm of Battle, Levy, Fowler, and Neiman. New York City, 1936 to 1949, New York Regional Council, War Assets Administration, 1946 to 1948, member of the law firm of Bleacher and Buttle, New York City, 1949 to 1952, Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the United States Antitrust Division, Department of Justice, 1950 to 1952, and this is before he represented the interests of Marguerite Oswald. He was a Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the United States. Associated with the law firm of Finch and Schaefler, that's when we know him, New York City as counsel, 1952 to 1959, Referee Appeals Council, Social Security Administration, 1956 to 1959, Hearing Examiner, Federal Trade Commission, 1959 to present. Served as Commander, U.S. Naval Reserve, active duty, 1942 to 1945, Vice President, Federal Trial Examiners Conference, 1960 to 61, now President. Member of the Association of the Bar of the New York City, and he's also written stuff. So he's got quite a hefty resume. And on December 14th, 1953, Mr. Buttle is writing a letter on behalf of Lee Harvey Oswald. So the FBI tracked down Mr. Buttle in Miami to ask him, what's going on here? Mr. Buttle seems to have a pretty good memory, even if it is a little vague. Upon recollection, Mr. Buttle said he vaguely recalled having made some contact with a member of the Domestic Relations Court, New York City, possibly a Mr. Roman, he got that right, during the period in which Mr. Buttle was associated with the law firm of Finch and Schaefler. It was Mr. Buttle's recollection that the matter pertained to a truancy problem of a boy whom Mr. Roman apparently considered too closely tied to the mother's apron strings. Mr. Buttle said he may have remarked to Mr. Roman that it was conceivable that the problem of the boy in question could be the result of too close supervision of the boy by the court or school officers, resulting in a psychiatric condition being forced upon the youth. Mr. Buttle said he had no recollection of the name Oswald. He remembered Roman, but he didn't remember his client's name, Oswald. And following the assassination of President Kennedy and the publicity given to Oswald, he, Buttle, had no realization that he had in the past any connection with the individual Lee Harvey Oswald. He said he could not recall how the matter may have been referred to him, but indicates that Judge Edward R. Finch, or the latter's secretary, may have asked him to handle the matter. He said he doubted that the case was anything more than a total gratuity, but did not know if there might be any record with the firm of Finch and Schaefler. Mr. Buttle stated that to the best of his recollection he never saw the boy involved in this matter, and he believed he saw the mother only on one occasion. And if you recall, in his letter to Mr. Roman, he was giving his opinion on the boy's problems, his psychological problems, when he says he never met the boy and only met the mother once, and doesn't even remember their names now. So he was bullshitting Mr. Roman. So if he's bullshitting, and he's doing it as a total gratuity, that means he's bullshitting as a favor to somebody. He doesn't know Marguerite Oswald, so it's not as a favor to her. The only person he mentions who it could be a favor to is Judge Edward R. Finch. Now, if you note, although he doesn't work officially with Finch and Schaefler, there is an Edward R. Finch of Finch and Schaefler. He's the Finch, obviously, but he's not the judge. This is the judge, Edward R. Finch, Edward Ridley Finch. He was a Republican member of the New York State Assembly in 1902, 1903, 1904. In 1911, he helped to found the New York Young Republican Club. He was a lawyer, of course, for a justice of the New York Supreme Court. And in April 1931, he was appointed to something there. In 1934, he ran on the Democratic ticket for the New York Court of Appeals and was elected to a 14-year term, but resigned on April 30th, 1943 to resume his private law practice. So apparently, even though he's a retired judge, he's still practicing law at the time that he apparently asked Edgar Allyn Buttle for a favor. And his grandson and namesake, Edward Finch Cox, is the son-in-law of former President Richard Nixon. So why is Judge Finch apparently doing a favor for Marguerite Oswald? Are they old drinking buddies or something? It's probably not likely that Finch would have known Marguerite or Lee ever, and so he's probably doing a favor for somebody else. I can only speculate, but I think that maybe Fred Korth would be a good candidate, though I don't know that Fred Korth and Finch were acquainted. But obviously, I think there's some very high, well-connected people, or people who are well-connected to people of power, who are helping the Oswalds in 1953. And I think that fits in very well with the theory that Edwin Ekdahl is the one who found Lee Harvey Oswald as a candidate to be groomed from a young age as an intelligence asset. I think that's what this all adds up to.